Good, great. I can do the same shit then. So we pulled up and I saw the sign, the O bar. I figured I was coming in for an orgasm. I ended up with sliders. That worked better last time. There we go. So this whole aging thing has been sort of rough. It really kicked my ass. I'd certainly much rather be dealing with acne than arthritis. I go to the doctor and I said to him, look, like everything just hurts. My hands, my knees, my hips. He says, well, we'll take x-rays and we'll see. So we take the x-rays, he puts them up on the board, and there's all white spots. So he says to me, take a look at this. Do you know what this is? I said, if I knew what it was, would I be here talking to you? I said, I don't know, I'll take a guess. Bone cancer? He goes, no, it's not that bad. He goes, it is arthritis and you have it from head to toe. He says, I understand why you're in pain. He says, arthritis will make everything stiff. Not everything. Oh boy. So hey guys, do you know how you know when you're getting old? Any guess? Your balls are longer than a CVS receipt. So with that being said, the first time I sat down on the bowl and I had splashdown, I was like, this isn't going to work. I got to figure something out here, right? So I go to the workshop and I invent the testicular flotation devices. 2 little mini bagels, put them in the water, my balls rested on them. It worked for a little while, but then they started absorbing too much water and broke apart. Back to the workshop, polyurethane them. They survived in the water, but they were a little slippery, right? So we had a little mishap. The next morning I got up and I thought to myself, how can I fix this? It occurred to me, little smear of cream cheese, stick them right up there. They stayed nice, no balls in the water. Worked out great. So, now I walk into the bathroom and it actually takes me longer to start peeing than it does to actually pee. And when I do, it's sort of this series of urinary dots and dashes, like Morse code. I got ships at sea sending messages back. When I was a kid, we used to party a lot, buy a couple of 6-packs, a couple of joints, put Led Zeppelin on, and we'd have a good time. I've been trying to capture that feeling now for years and years. And the medical marijuana now is not as strong as the Acapulco Gold in the 70s, so can't get the same buzz. But it occurred to me, if I just stand up real fast, my blood pressure takes over, and I get nice and lightheaded. You guys could see I got more than a few tattoos. So my wife takes me to get another tattoo, and I come home, and she's looking, she goes, I don't understand. Why would you get 3 lines tattooed around your knee? And I said, well, you remember when the kids were little, we would chart their growth by drawing a line on the door jamb. She goes, I get that, but I don't get this. I said, well, listen, to be honest with you, I'm just trying to measure the impact of gravity on my balls. She says, why the dotted line? I said, because at that point, I have to stop wearing shorts. I've had 7 back surgeries, 5 other joint surgeries, so I'm up to like 12, 13 orthopedic surgeries. And I thought that there's got to be a certain place on the web that people like me who've had multiple orthopedic surgeries could go and sort of coalesce. So I've been looking at this as a business model. Are you guys familiar with OnlyFans? You know what OnlyFans is? I'm going to start a pay site for people like me who've had multiple orthopedic surgeries. I'm going to call it Only Scars. I've also thought up a couple of names for chat rooms, and these are in development, right? How about the room for hips and nips, right? Hips and nips. The second one would be spines and twine. That's for the S&M crowd. What is it with these silver alerts on 75? Every time you're on 75, there's a silver alert. But you never find out what happens to the people who are lost. I have a theory. They're either at a casino or they're in the villages. I'm pretty sure that you could find all those silver alert people in one of those 2 places. There's some things I've learned as I've aged. One of those things is your friends change. And why do they change? Well, I like to think it's because of the 3 Ds, right? Divorce, dementia, and death. You lose your friends to one of those 3 things. And at my age, it's sort of hard to make new friends, So I made friends with the open mic community, some other comics and stuff, but it becomes very difficult. At this point now in my life, my best friend is my bidet. After 7 back surgeries, it's the only thing that consistently works for me every day. Yes, I am that regular. The other thing I know is that there are a few rules to aging. One is you never pass a bathroom. 2, you never waste an erection. 3, never get on the floor without a plan to get back up. And number 4, never, ever, ever trust a fart. I wasn't the only one that sort of suffered through aging. My wife did too. Menopause for her was awful. I like to call it the thermostat wars, right? We run around, she makes it colder, I make it warmer. It's insane. She went from wearing sweatpants to shorts and little tank tops. Now I'm wearing sweats in the house all the time. We have our own climate crisis in the house. We go in the bedroom and sometimes it's so cold that night that we have intermittent flurries. It's ridiculous. I'm in bed one night and I hear bzzz. I hear it a little loud, a little faster. Bzzz. I'm thinking Pixie's in the bullpen warming up. Bzzz. She's not warming up. I roll over all ready to go, and there she is with a little fan from her nightstand, just trying to cool herself off. You went through menopause. Are you going through it now? Yeah. No? You done? Twice. Lucky you. And lucky for the man in your life. God. Growing up Italian, I saw a lot of the women in the family as they were going through menopause. It was not a happy thing. My Nona at age 70 had such a luxurious beard that she was able to front for a ZZ Top cover band. We've been married for 41 years, and the only reason I do this, it's the only place I could get 5 minutes of uninterrupted talking time. We're Italian, right? So we talk with our hands a lot. Pixie especially. She looks like she's landing planes on an aircraft carrier. She broke her wrist last summer, and she developed a speech impediment. She just stood there going, hamna. We decided when we were getting married that we weren't writing our own vows. We weren't going to do any silly shit like that. We were going to go with the tried and true traditional vows. And man, I'm glad I did, because I nailed her so good with that whole in health and sickness clause. Let's see, what else? So guys, you guys seem to be couples here, right? Have you ever tried to win an argument with your spouse? That's adorable. You can't win an argument with your spouse. You can't even get 2 words in. It's impossible. At the end of it, I typically just apologize because, well, I like living indoors. Oh, man. So, maturing in marriage is accepting the fact that your wife can't remember where she left her glasses. But she can remember something I said 33 years ago on a Monday night at 8:15 p.m. You guys know what I'm talking about. I see her nodding, and I see him hiding under the table. That's the same guy that's got his arms folded, Nick. Like your pop. We were talking, we were away with cousins, and we were talking, and I know I'm going first. And I tell her all the time, I'm going first. And she says, yeah, that tracks. My cousin said, well, what happens if she goes first? I said, well, if she goes first, I'll be right behind her. He goes, well, you'll be heartbroken. That's why you'll be right behind her. She jumps in and goes, heartbroken? He can't get his fat ass out of the fucking recliner to feed himself. That's why he'll die. And the people ask me, what's the key to 42 years of marriage? And I say, well, I think it's laughter. Not mine, hers. I'm a constant source of entertainment. I fall. I could be walking and just fall down. I lose my cane. It's horrible. I'm in the backyard one day. She was gone. I'm in the backyard, and I'm Italian, right? So I got the hose out. I'm hosing shit down. I'm cleaning the pool rafts. I bend over to pick up a pool raft. My hand slips. I go down right on my ass. I don't have my cane with me. There's no chairs nearby. I can't get myself back to my feet. So I'm laying on the pool deck and I'm like, well, what do I do now? I decide to save myself, I'm going to roll to the pool, drop myself into the pool, stand up, and then walk out by the steps. Another time, we go to the dispensary. I get out of the car, go into the dispensary, come back out, and I say to her, did you see that I fell? Her response was, when? When? I fell right in front of the car. I said, a kid came, picked me up. I went in, picked up the product, and came back out. And she was still on her phone. Death scrolling. It's crazy. You know you're Italian when you use the rubber band from the Broccoli Rob as your wallet. Right? Your grandfather used to do that, I'm sure. You know, and she accuses me all the time of having early onset Alzheimer's. And I tell her it's not early onset Alzheimer's. There is just some stuff that I elect to not remember. It has no relevance for me, and it's just going to fill up my head with useless shit. So I tell her all the time, I have Italian Alzheimer's. That's where you forget everything but the grudges. You know, and the three most frightening and scary words in any marriage, I was thinking. We lived in New Jersey, and I was thinking we would replace the sliding door with a French door. Next thing I know, I got a contractor at the house, and I'm putting on a $50,000 addition. Thank you, Pixie. And I was thinking, we'd go to Italy for 2 weeks, right? Nice trip, go to Italy for 2 weeks. We're going for a month. I never, ever, ever have any impact on any decision that happens. So with this Italy trip now, she's been shopping like a maniac. We get, 10, 12 boxes from Amazon every day. We got about 8 boxes going back every day. The Amazon kid, he started out looking like Pee Wee Herman. He was a little, small, frail kid. Now he looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's gotten all buffed out carrying those packages back and forth. I decided I'm going to take language lessons. This way we could sort of get around a little bit easier, right? And, the first few were like just the basic stuff, right? Buongiorno, come va, all of these different things. It started getting a little bit more difficult when they were asking me to conjugate verbs. And the online instructor started getting a little bit more impatient with me. So it turns out, now I just have a second Italian woman yelling at me all day long. And Pixie, we were doing ancestry. So she did her ancestry. I wanted to do some ancestral background. I decided I'm going to use ChatGPT. So I put everything into ChatGPT, all the relatives' names, birth dates, death dates, towns, all that stuff, and we're going through it. She says, why don't you just use Ancestry? I said, well, show me yours. I look at hers, and she's like 48% Italian, like 47% other Western European, and a few percentage points Black. Now, this is from Sicily, having been invaded over centuries by North Africans and Greeks and everything, so the racial demographics have changed. But what was a nice surprise for me is after 42 years, I found out I'd been sleeping with a Black woman. I never knew that. And she says to me, why don't you do yours? I said, listen, you came back 5% Black, I ain't doing mine. All right, kids, that's my time. Thank you. I'm Uncle Rocky. Hey, come out and support this open mic once a month on a Tuesday. We really want to make it work. Thanks, guys. Jake?